BoMel, back to the Bay? Really?
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, well. We got company today on Locked On A's, and as we should. It's a big day because the National League Championship Series just wrapped up. We wanted to wait to do the episode until we found out who's going to the World Series. Diamondbacks or the Phillies. Let me introduce my guest and myself. My name's Wayne Coy. I'm your host of Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast. Of course, the first listen for you every day, and we do appreciate that. And we want to welcome in Tanner, who is in Iowa, and Ian, who's also in Iowa. Both of them big A's fans since they knew what a baseball was, just like the old man here. Hi, guys. Welcome to the show.
What's up?
Happy to be here. It's awesome. It's pouring in Iowa, so forgive me if you hear any sprinkles on the roof. We cannot control that.
Okay. I wondered about that. I saw that there was rain in the Midwest. I didn't know if you guys were getting it or not. So we got a lot to talk about. I think I want to start talking about a very familiar face returning to a very familiar place, and that would be Bob Melvin back in the Bay Area, except on the other side of the bridge this time. What do you guys think about that? He had another year to go in his contract with the Padres, and they said, sure, we'll give him permission. And boy, it didn't take the Giants long at all to replace Gabe Kapler with Bob Melvin. What do you think?
I'm not sure if I mentioned that in our last podcast or if it was just in the group chat, but I knew that Melvin was going to go. It kind of became untenable there for that whole situation, whatever the differences in philosophy were between them. But Melvin going back to where he played a little ball back in the day. So it should be interesting. I was really hoping that they would fire the resident babysitter and bring back Bob Melvin for us, but it didn't happen.
Oh, you mean to tell Mark Kotsay to have a nice day and bring back BoMel? That would be cool. But I think if he wanted to stay, he would have. Because remember, we didn't get anything in return, and we let him go. And I think it was just because they told him, "Look, we're going to rip this thing down to the studs, and you're going to have to rebuild all over again." I don't think he wanted to go through that again.
No, he only did it 4 times or something. So,
enough sure. Already, right? Yeah. So, how do you think that affects the Giants? I mean, do you think they'll do better than they did this last year?
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Tanner? Let you get some play here.
It is unfortunate being in a division with LA, but yeah, there were, I would say, probably an underperforming team, and BoMel, if anything, lifted up the A's and his stay there. So as a Giants fan, I've got no issues with that, of course. And I think they're kind of in a Raiders boat with McDaniels. I think they're ready for a new face, and tough to argue with BoMel. I think we kind of, which you guys can relate to as A's and Raider fans, I think we got to a point with BoMel where we're thinking we're done worrying about the manager thing. Kind of got that comfortable feeling with Melvin, and we don't have that very often. So a bit jealous of them. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic move. He's great. He's not the overwhelming manager. He's not gonna try to overperform. I think he lets his guys play, which he always did with the A's. They always had a good bullpen ERA, and it was never 1 or 2 guys. It was always a 3, 4, 5 deal. I like Melvin a lot. I think he feeds the hot hand, and I think the Giants will appreciate him a lot, and they should.
I think he has the longest run of any Oakland A's manager, right? I mean, was La Russa how many years?
9, 10. Was it 10?
I think so. And I think for Bob Melvin was like 11, right? We're having an echo issue, guys. I don't know if that's somebody's got something up that shouldn't be, but I'm hearing everything back after you say it. So hopefully we can figure that out. But I definitely, I agree with you, Tanner. I think he immediately makes the Giants that much better. And in that division, I mean, heck, you mentioned the Dodgers, but don't look now. There's a different team from the West going to the World Series.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
National League West.
Yeah.
We'll get into the Diamondbacks and what they were able to do tonight in just a few minutes. But moving on from Bob Melvin, one name that came up before the Melvin thing really took off, that apparently Stephen Vogt was going to get an interview with the Giants, which, he played for them for a while, right? But now he's one of the main names for the Cleveland Guardians opening. And this is a guy with zero managerial experience. Ian, does that matter?
I think he was the manager for at least the in-game manager, a lot of those years in Oakland. I mean, he was kind of a player coach for the last 4 or 5 years that he was in the league. It's a great choice. I mean, if you gotta have or be given the opportunity rather to get managerial experience to be experienced. So
right.
He's gonna have to get his shot somewhere.
We mentioned this on yesterday's podcast, but I don't know if you guys drew the same, parallel, but we were talking about how good Bruce Bochy is in the postseason and the fact that he played catcher, as did Bob Melvin, as did Stephen Vogt. It seems like that's the position that sort of grooms you for that later on, because you're kind of the quarterback on the field, aren't you?
Perfect analogy. Absolutely. You are definitely the quarterback.
Yeah, you're the only one who has the view of the field from that perspective. Everybody else is looking towards home plate. You're looking out and you see everything kind of play out in front of you. It's definitely a different way to play the game, but it's also, I think, a different way to absorb the game if you're a catcher, because you get into all the nuances. You meet with the pitchers before the game and you talk about the opposition and what to expect. And, there's a lot that goes on besides just playing your position. Like, if you're playing no offense, Tanner, but if you're playing second base, you worry about what's happening at second base. I think the catcher has to take a lot into consideration. You agree or disagree? Talking to the second baseman here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, but infield shifts, I wish I could tell you that they're more important, but they're not. You pretty much just see the mouth open or mouth closed, right? Who's covering second base? I will say, I wondered if there was any carryover from David Ross, because not to crap on Cubs fans, but that hasn't worked a lot. And the timing was weird because it was directly after success where he's taking over and you've got, you've still got Chris Bryant in the building. You've still got Anthony Rizzo in the building. There was a weird dynamic there, and I think he's more than on his way out. And, granted, the Cubs had a good year, but I think that not necessarily its success, but the dynamic has been strange. And I think that's something to consider when doing the Stephen Vogt deal.
Gotcha. Okay. And by the way, that echo thing, it tends to happen, Tanner, when you're talking more than it does when Ian's talking. So I don't know if somebody's got their speaker up.
If we can edit
phone.
this part out, I'm muting my mic when I'm talking, and I don't know if Ian's doing the same. So I'm making sure that I mute when Ian's talking. So I think he needs to do vice versa, and I think that would fix it.
We edit nothing on this show, so if you thought that was going to go away, sorry.
Crap! I was going to say shit, but we can't.
No. It's a family show. We are as rated G as we can be.
That's what I started trying to do, because that's got to be it. We're sitting 4 feet away from each other, but
I think that might have something to do with it. Okay.
That's why I started doing the finger up to you when I wanted to talk, because I was going to unmute.
Oh, there you go. Couple of kids in Iowa with dirty mouths. So, it's okay. We've said worse on the show. Believe me. We got a big meeting coming up tomorrow that has to do with Las Vegas and the new stadium and the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, and they're getting together to talk about who knows what. But before we get to that, I do have to tell you that our show today is brought to us by Game Time. You know, you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event because Game Time is the fast and easy way to get tickets. I've told the story before, but it's worth retelling because it was one of those, what are we going to do moments? In fact, I said the word that Tanner said just a moment ago, standing outside of Allegiant Stadium, wanting to go watch the Raiders take on the Chiefs. I thought my buddy Tommy had tickets. He thought I had tickets. And we sat there and stared at each other like, you got to be kidding me. Literally half an hour before kickoff. Well, went on the Game Time app. Not only did we find seats that were good, we were able to actually check out the view from our seats to see sort of what the tickets were like. And we wanted to make sure we weren't surrounded by a bunch of Chiefs fans because that happens here in Vegas. So we had a great time at the game. I want you to download the Game Time app, create an account, and then use the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code. It's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Have you guys ever used Game Time?
I've used a lot of the other ones. Game Time's kind of new to the game, but yeah, we're looking at going to a Raiders game later in the year. That's if
you got to get on it.
Josh McDaniels. Yeah,
yeah, we're waiting for that to happen. But you definitely got to use the Game Time app. It's the way to fly. I mean, we literally went from panic mode to in our seats within 20 minutes, and we paid basically face value, a little bit more, but not much at all. So hey. Get your account open, use that discount, $20 off. All right, so the big meeting happening at the Convention Center in Las Vegas. That's happening tomorrow. And guys, the deal basically is they are going to sort of see where they are now versus where they were in their last meeting. Obviously, we don't have a relocation vote that's been approved yet. So everything is a little cart before the horse, but you kind of, to think about it from their perspective, if you're getting ready to have a stadium and have a Major League Baseball team come, you kind of want to, lay down a little bit of groundwork before that happens. Well, the interesting thing is that Steve Hill, who you might remember was one of the two main people that were representing the A's in those legislative hearings with the state of Nevada in the special sessions. He is the guy who runs the Las Vegas Visitors Authority, right? Or Las Vegas, I always screw this up. LVCVA. That's Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. My apologies, Mr. Hill. And he is also in charge of the Stadium Authority, which is where I was going with this. Is there a conflict of interest there, do you think? Because apparently the authority has to be able to approve anything that happens in there's a say, I guess, for the Convention and Visitors Association as well. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think any other conclusion that you could come to is kind of naive. It's like when you hire a head coach and then you hire a GM, but the head coach is actually the GM.
Right.
Yeah, there's a ceremonial say in everything else, but yeah, it's the same guy running the show for sure.
And I'm sure, to be fair to them, that they're going to do everything they can to at least set up maybe some guardrails so that it is arm's length at least, but just interesting because he obviously represented the A's, but he's also working for the Stadium Authority and he's with the Convention and Visitors Association, which had a ton to do with Allegiant. So, yeah, I don't know how you have your fingers in all those pies and stay neutral, but I guess they'll try to figure that out. Now, another thing is that there is an open opportunity for the public to speak up, and Schools Over Stadiums, which is the PAC that is trying to get a referendum where the people of Nevada have an opportunity to have their say and whether or not there should be $380 million in public funds passed over to Mr. Fisher to be able to build his stadium. So that could get a little fiery, but you only get, I think, what is it like? I think you get 5 minutes or 3 minutes. You get 3 minutes.
I was going to say 5 minutes, I think would be a little long. Yeah. I think it's more like 2 or 3, like a city council meeting or something.
Yeah. Or my marriage. But anyway, we'll see what happens. And actually, I'm watching this one pretty intently because I think the dominoes could start to fall pretty quickly. A lot of the people that chime in on the show say, you know, unless one of two things happen, either the owners decide to say no, or this thing does end up on the ballot. Those are really the only two ways to keep that locomotive from going down the tracks, you know? So it's looking like our team is heading to Las Vegas, and there has to be, I think, for every fan, a part of you that says, well, I'm going to fight to the death to not have that happen so they can stay in Oakland. But I'm also needing to prepare myself to either continue to be a fan if they move to Vegas or find a new team to root for. Where are both of you at? Let me start with you, Tanner. If the A's move to Vegas, are you still Team Athletics?
I would be completely on board, but my opinion would vary from others because I live in Southeast Iowa. So going to the game has never been part of my fandom. However, I completely resonate with people like you because I know what it meant to you going to the games growing up, sneaking in, trying to jump over the fence when you couldn't afford a ticket, or, you know, I never got to experience that. So selfishly, it means nothing to me, but I do resonate with the fans that have dealt with underwhelming success from the Raiders, the A's, you know, everything is on board there. Yeah, not being able to have something in Oakland would stink. So me personally, no, but as a fan of a very large group of people, yeah, it stinks. I would love them to stay. I hope they still do.
So, but you're going to stay, you're going to continue to be a fan if indeed they move away from Oakland, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
If I was going to jump, boy, I mean, I had plenty of times to jump. It's not going to be this one.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Brewers were sending you, I think, letters to get you to come on over, and you stood fast, which I love, which is just basically once again proof positive that brainwashing does work. Just so you know, because the succession here is that I brainwashed Ian, who then brainwashed his brother from the other marriage, and that would be Tanner. So they're brothers, and Big Brother kind of laid it down, said Raiders A's, you have no options.
You guys did a good or bad job. I don't know how you interpret it, but whatever it is, you nailed it down good because I can't quit.
And what about you, Ian? Are you still on board with the A's if they move to Vegas?
I think I removed all option of jumping ship when I tattooed the A's logo on my chest. So it would look really weird trying to turn that into a D or something like that. Like I'm just going to be a fan of the Tigers randomly. No, it has absolutely no effect on my fandom whatsoever. I empathize with the fans in Oakland. Obviously, I've lived in the Bay Area several times throughout my life. It was great being able to go to the games there. I know what it means, and I know the heartbreak of what it feels like when your team bails out on you, because I've had to leave my team. So they're just doing it in reverse this time, you know? I've had to leave the option to be able to get on BART and go see an A's game. And I don't have that anymore. And it, you know, I lived in California through like April or May of 2018. And I think that year, I want to say I went to like 12 games in April. So
wow,
I might have went to more games than anyone for that short part of the season that I was there. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're an A's fan, you're probably going to ride or die. There'll be some people that jump, but there'll also be some people in Vegas that have never had a pro baseball team, and we'll get new fans.
Sure.
I mean, it'll just happen. And it's a crappy thing to say, like, oh, just flush the old ones and get new ones. But you know, it's not like a T-shirt, right? It's a heirloom. It's a legacy. But you know, I think that they will ultimately adjust. The fans that are really hardcore will stick around, and the ones that aren't, the casuals, will drop off. And just kind of the way it is with relocations.
A good point to stop right here, look into the camera and say to Sin City Raiders, you said we didn't give equal time to the other side. Well, here's that perspective. which you, being a Vegas guy, you're all excited because, you know, in your words, you're coming into the bar and stealing our date. That's what he said. So I told him that, you know, he's more than welcome to come on the show anytime he wants. But obviously my perspective coming from the East Bay is much different than people who are living out of state. And like you said, Tanner put it perfectly. He goes, you know, selfishly, I'm sitting here in the middle of the country and I watch all the games on TV. So it doesn't really affect me as much, right? And Las Vegas certainly is a destination. And hey, you might know someone who lives here. I don't know who that would be.
What about the competitive aspect? What about the competitive aspect of a relocation? Like, the team's going to get better. They're going to compete. We're going to stop having this as an excuse. Like, it should be better for fans to actually play quality baseball.
You would think so, but I would remind anybody that's thinking that John Fisher, last I checked, would still be the owner of the team. So I don't know. Is the Leopard going to change its spots? Are we all of a sudden going to spend a bunch of money and keep our players and, you know, all the things that we haven't been able to do in Oakland? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people think that if they do move to Las Vegas, and there's a possibility, that he'll sell as soon as he can and then let somebody else jump in. Maybe Mr. Foley, who has the Golden Knights.
Which serves the same purpose anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I'm wondering too is, besides all the, because, you know, projections, according to them, are that they've got to sell out pretty much every game. And I don't know how you do that. I don't care where you are on a Wednesday night against, pick a team, Cleveland, you know. You're going to put 30,000 in there every single night? It's going to be tough.
It's tough to do.
Right. And then are we going to have the same phenomenon that we have with the Raiders, where 3/4 of the stadium is rooting for the other team, and then your home field advantage goes completely out the window? And, you know, let it be known, if you don't already, when the A's are playing well and there's a team to support, we do it probably better than anybody in Oakland. It's cray-cray. And Ian, you've been there. You can speak to that.
I have. I went to the game in 2018 before I moved away from the area, where they gave away tickets to it. So, I mean, that kind of helps. But, I mean, seeing 56,000 people at a baseball game is mind-blowing.
Right. And you made a bunch of friends out in the parking lot. And, I mean, you got the full-on A's experience for sure, which is great. So as far as relocation goes, and we'll stop talking about this here because it does get a little tiring, but that meeting's happening tomorrow, and I think that's important. But we got to get the votes. Are there any no's out there? And we haven't decided yet. I haven't been able to completely wrap my head around, is it 7 owners or 8 that have to go? Let's say it's 8. Are there 8 no votes? Do you guys think there's 8 owners out there that are going to vote against them moving? And if so, who are they?
No, the answer is no, because Vegas makes money and Oakland doesn't. I think it's about as clear as it comes. And I wanted to retouch on the just the draw to the stadiums and stuff. And I know this is a little biased, but the product does matter. And I'm going to double back again. I'm not sure that in the recent window the A's couldn't have. I know this is going a little deep in the well, but the A's could have afforded a few of these Chapman, Olsen, these Matt guys. That the money isn't the biggest issue in the world. Matt Olson's getting paid $20 million a year and just hit like 85. Was it 85 home runs or was it
185? I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the money's the biggest issue. It's a lack of drive, which hopefully, God willing, Vegas maybe does that. And this isn't directly related, but the Iowa Hawkeyes just got 56,000 people to watch a women's basketball game because they provided the venue, they provided the fun, and they opened up a football stadium. It was 55 degrees. We almost had 60,000 people watching women's basketball. You have to provide the excitement. You have to provide these things that fans are, we were looking forward to watching Matt Olson. I mean, it's still cool watching him, but not as much in the Braves uniform. So does Vegas help? Yes, but is it, the issue is deeper than that, unfortunately, in my opinion. I don't think it fixes everything, but I hope it's a starter. It has to be a kick in the butt to these guys because this was already doable. We already had the window. They didn't miss it because of money. They missed it because of lack of drive, lack of effort, lack of planning. I mean, really.
And money. Okay. I hear what you're saying, but I think dollars and cents is exactly what drives this guy. And he wants to run it as lean as he can so he can make as much of I mean, they're a very profitable team, but remember they're on Major League Baseball welfare, basically, their revenue share. And that's the whole push why we have to get the stadium, done before the end of the year. Because if January comes and they don't have a stadium, then they're not going to share revenue anymore. And that's been the whole motivator. So I disagree with you about that. I think John Fisher watches every penny. And I think that's what motivates him is money. And if he can not have to spend it and still make a profit, I don't think he cares, And I think you see that if you look at the San Jose Earthquakes and how that team's run. He said, by the way, he was going to spend money there too once they got their new stadium, which they did get the new stadium, and their payroll is like next to last in the league. So there you go. Okay, so you say no no's anywhere, and I'm with you. I think it's going to be hard to find those. I do think that the West Coast teams that have this as their TV market, though, traditionally, the Dodgers, the Angels, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, they all share this market as a television market. And now the A's coming here doesn't change that. It's just the pie is going to be cut even smaller for them. And remember, at this point anyway, Rob Manfred says no relocation fee is going to be charged, which is a lot of money that the other owners aren't going to be able to get either. So I don't know. I mean, I did hear that. I did hear that exactly. I heard that Hal Steinbrenner, specifically of the Yankees, is tired of continuing to give money to these supposed small market teams that don't put the money into the product. It's one thing if you're getting a revenue share, but if you're not going to keep a Matt Olson or a Matt Chapman or Sean Murphy or Marcus Semien or Chris Bassett, keep going. What are you doing with the money? You're not improving the stadium. You're not putting it into the players, putting it into your pocket. That's the only answer. So again, I heard what you said, Tanner, and certainly respect your opinion. I just think in this case, money is, I think the owner of the Oakland A's is basically Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, and that makes Dave Cavil Smithers, just so you know. Okay, we got to talk about FanDuel. I'll tell you why we got to talk about them, because it's NFL season. And I know for a fact Iowa is one of the states where both of these guys are, where, putting a little money on the game makes it a little more interesting. How about this? If you're a brand new FanDuel customer and you put a $5 bet down, you get $200 in bonus bets. $5 for $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. Okay. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel because you're like, well, it's football season and you're starting to get into it and you'd like to maybe take that next step because you got that app and you've been thinking about it, now's a really good time to do it. Again, $5 bet, $200 in bonus bets, and a whole big range of betting options for you. You can bet the spreads, you can bet the player props, you can bet pretty much anything, overs, unders, all of that. FanDuel.com/lockedon. The NFL season, it's underway. We're living it. We're dying for it. It's happening. And you can experience FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. You guys, do you ever bet those prop bets, by the way, either of you?
I'm not huge on I'm huge on player props and like first touchdown bets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or bet the first 3 innings of a baseball game, like little things like that. Definitely. FanDuel is notorious for taking action on almost anything. So they get a little ridiculous sometimes, like for degenerates like us that can't stop betting on everything.
That's what makes it interesting, though. Like we said, you can pick. There's got to be a bet for you because, like you said, there's a wide range of props for you to bet. And, of course, you guys are betting against the Raiders every week now, right? Oh,
I think
maybe not.
I'm stuck. think I'm stuck in the boat of taking Devontae Adams to score, and it's a boat that's sinking. So props to FanDuel. You're welcome.
There you go. All right. Well, get on board if you can. It's a great deal. All right. So Diamondbacks, Rangers. I'm sure the networks, I think, Ian, you said you don't think they're like doing cartwheels over this matchup, right?
This is their dream matchup for sure. I mean, this is the way they scripted it, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. I think going in, they probably were hoping that they were going to get like a Dodgers Orioles, right? Or Phillies. I don't know. Phillies and I don't know who's out here. I guess Phillies Rangers would have even been better, right? Because then you get the bigger market, Philadelphia. Yeah. Are you surprised that the Diamondbacks took care of Philadelphia 2 nights in a row in their park?
No. Because Phillies bats throughout the season, if you look, they randomly go quiet. It's a lot of streaky hitters. You got the weirdest leadoff hitter of all time. Schwarber didn't cross the Mendoza line. He was fantastic in the playoffs, but it's weird when you go home run or bust. You get in a game like today where it's a 2-3 run game and you can't get that knock out of him when you really need it. Harper, banged up, comes back hot, but their big time hitters aren't necessarily the guys that are going to shorten up on a 1-2 count and hit a ball, the opposite way to, left center or something.
Right.
And I tell you what, that hot team, we all know the story there. The random 84 win team gets hot. They got the rookie of the year. I mean, I don't know if you can have a better underdog with Corbin Carroll. You got these guys that Gabby Moreno. I know we're big on Sean Murphy, but man, that Moreno can play some catcher. Holy cow, did he make some plays from behind the plate? Yeah. Man, I tell you what, they got speed. They got all the random things. They got the 2-run home run from Alec Thomas, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
To tie the series back up. It's one of those guys where, or one of those teams where you got a guy to step up in every scenario instead of the Phillies, outside of, you get Castellanos hot, but I think he finished maybe 1 or something like that for his last 23. So
yeah, he got as hot as he was, he got that cold.
Exactly.
As hot as he was, he got that cold. Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks did exactly the opposite. They got a bunch of guys who are just stepping up there, and they don't know any better than to do well, which is the beauty of baseball. Like, screw it, we've never been here. Let's just hit the ball in the outfield. It's a sweet team.
I think you answered my question then. So if you're going to make a pick, you're thinking that Arizona's a team of destiny, and like you said, they're just playing almost for the fun of it, and because of that, there's no pressure on them, whereas the Rangers would have a lot of pressure because they're the veteran team between the two of them, right?
Oh, no, the Diamondbacks are still going to lose. No. It was cool until now. The Rangers are really, really good. Yeah. I'm still going with the big dog. If we're riding with FanDuel, my money is not on the underdog. Selfishly, underdog, money-wise, absolutely not.
Okay. So Rangers win it. How many games?
I think it'd be a quick one, a little 5-er. I think the story's over, unfortunately.
Okay, 4 or 5 games. Ian, what do you think?
I agree wholeheartedly. I would have said 5 games as well. I think Cinderella's slipper is about to fall off, and the Diamondbacks are going to turn back into the Pumpkins. So
right,
they're a good.
Well,
team.
It's weird.
They're a good, fun young team, but they just don't beat the Rangers in the World Series.
It's weird though, isn't it? Isn't it a little funny that like our gut tells us there's no way we're rooting for the Texas Rangers. We hate them. We don't hate them as much as we hate the Houston Astros. That would have been even worse, but it's still a team in our division. And so there's that whole, we're not supposed to like them. They're like a rival kind of, but they have more XAs than the Diamondbacks do. In fact, do they have any? Yeah, I guess they have 1, I think, on the Arizona team, right? 1 former A. Am I wrong, or is that where Jace Peterson is?
If he's on the team, he's not playing. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I could be wrong about that. So you got Marcus Semien and you got Jonah Heim, and it's hard not to want to see those guys do well. And then Bruce Bochy's just got that thing he does, man. He is just so steady. I mean, I'd love to play for the guy because I I feel like even when he's mad at you, you kind of go, yeah, I deserve it. You know,
I think it actually goes back to the Melvin point that I tried to make earlier. I think Bochy is a lot like that too. There's no over managing, which I think happens a lot these days because of the analytic era. Excuse me. You just want to, you almost want to get your footprint in the game as a manager. And I think the managers that don't do that, you saw Kevin Cash, with the Rays, mismanaged a lot of bullpens because he was a big numbers guy. I think that the guys that are just going to play.
Whoa! We're getting really bad echo there. Really bad echo there. So you hear that? It's coming back. I don't know what happened there. You were doing great. You're doing great. But we're hearing everything twice. Okay. And you know what? We got to wrap anyway. So we'll work on technical stuff. I think you guys you're out in the middle of nowhere, so I don't think your internet is always as dependable as maybe we'd like it to be.
I got it. So, my earbud fell out and it disconnected from my phone.
Aha. Okay. Well, Tanner, go ahead and wrap up your point. I want you to finish what you're saying. Go ahead, Tanner.
I was just saying, like, I think we've seen it a lot of times. It goes back as far as I can, which I'm a young guy, so as far as back as I can remember, it's not fair. But I know Madden tried to step on the Cubs World Series, mismanaging, like Chapman when he had Lester kind of rolling. You always try to make the analytical play. That's why I would go to bat for those old managers like Melvin and those Bochy, those guys like that. They just kind of play by feel, and that's a really good thing when it comes to the hot teams too, like Arizona. I don't think they're mismanaging things. They're not trying to say, well, we got to have this lefty righty, we got to hit this guy. This guy pitches 067 against righties. Screw it. If he's got 4 people out in a row, let's just do it. So those are the guys I would want to play for as a former ball player. So I think that makes it fun. I like those guys a lot.
Plus, you get to basically hear the movie Sling Blade every day in the dugout, which is great. Yeah,
baseball's the only sport. I think baseball is the only sport that's really hung on to tradition, and I think it's in a good way because he's 100% correct. The old school managers that just kind of like go by feel and maybe they get criticized for burning out their pitchers. Dusty Baker, I'm looking at you, but get criticized for those things. But like you just show up in the postseason every year magically. I wonder how that happened. It's because maybe you've been doing this a while, and computer nerds like put your stats away. Like I got this.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Dusty Baker, he's more than likely hanging it up after this past season. His Astros went pretty far, and he can be proud of his career for sure. I think his career is like 40 years now or something. I mean, obviously he played for years for the Dodgers, even played for the A's for a while, been a very successful manager, both San Francisco and in Houston. And, we're going to wish him well. Plus he's a real big music guy. So get ready, because I'm sure he'll be, putting out Dusty Baker albums. We'll be able to buy those very soon. Is he a Hall of Famer, do you think? Is he a Hall of Famer based on his managing and his long playing career? Those are crickets, folks. I can play those, actually. You want to hear some real crickets?
Here we go.
Sorry.
Here we go. Was that a drum roll? Was that a ba-dum?
Yeah, that was a ba-dum-bum. Yeah, I got some crickets.
I heard that.
Hang on. There we go. Yeah.
God, I'm hosing everything up here today. I don't have my best fastball today, man. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I just want to know if you think Dusty Baker's a Hall of Famer, yes or no. Give me a one-word answer. Ian?
Yes.
Okay. Tanner?
Yes. That was 2. Yes.
Yeah, and I say of course as well. So Dusty, get out so we can get you in while you're still alive. I mean, that's half the battle when these guys start to get a little older, like, Tony La Russa went in and Dick Williams went in. It's like, you want to, don't be like 80 when you're calling it quits, because then, you're Connie Mack, and that's a whole different deal. And by the way, it's not mashed potatoes. I'm so sorry. It's French fried potatoes that Bruce Bochy likes to serve up. All right. You guys have a wonderful, well, it's late. Go to bed. That's what I'm going to tell you to do. A couple days off, and then we'll get the World Series started. I would love to have you back on during the series if you don't mind. And we can get our technical stuff worked out. What do you think?
I'm always down.
I almost grabbed the crickets again. Okay, there they go. That's Tanner. That's Ian. And I'm Wayne. Thanks for being here, of course. Every day, we love it when you make us your first listen. It's Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Back again tomorrow, and can't wait to talk to you then. We'll find out what happened at that big meeting in Las Vegas. So look forward to reporting. We might get Alan Snell on from LV Sports Biz and see if he can give us the inside scoop tomorrow. And until then, you keep on swinging.